Hey guys, welcome to the first Scientific Bitcoin Institute podcast. I'd like to introduce you guys to one of our new hosts, Claudia. She's been learning a lot about Bitcoin and the power law and prepared some questions about Giovanni's new book, The Physics of Bitcoin. And even though I'm not Giovanni and he would obviously do a much better job than me at answering these questions, I'll try my best now that I've read the book and fully internalized its main ideas. Sadly, I cannot show you the physical version of the book just yet, but I'll put some images of it up on the screen. And a lot of Power Law fans are already showing off their ebooks as well. But before we get to the questions, maybe you'd like to introduce yourself to the audience, Claudia.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Claudia. I'm 25 years old. I'm from Italy. I'm really excited to be here and to be part of the team. I've been diving into the world of Bitcoin recently and learning more about it more deeper, and especially concepts like power law and its broader implications. Now I'm here today to ask mainly questions, explore those ideas, and hopefully make them more accessible and more for who is anyone who's curious of just getting in this type of space. I don't like
Perfect.
that at all.
Perfect.
I don't
All
like
right, great to have you on the team. It's always nice to see women in the space because if you look at our metrics, like 95% of our viewers are dudes, which probably comes to no one's surprise, but it shouldn't be like that because Bitcoin is something that has the potential to liberate everyone in society from the shackles of banks and the scam of fiat money that is designed to keep you poor no matter how hard you work. So it's great to have you on board. So without further ado, let's get to the first question.
Okay, I have many questions in my phone.
Mhm.
The first one is in the physics of Bitcoin. Santostasi proposed as a radical view Bitcoin not as a simple financial asset, but as a complex adaptive system. Now,
Mhm.
how does this perspective change the way we interpret the Bitcoin phenomenon?
It changes the question from is Bitcoin overpriced or underpriced right now to what kind of system Bitcoin is, structurally and dynamically. In Giovanni's view, Bitcoin is not best understood as a speculative asset alone, but as a self organizing network made of participants, mining infrastructure, and a ledger, whose behavior essentially emerges from their interaction. That means price is not really treated as an isolated market variable, but as just one manifestation of a deeper system governed by scaling laws and feedback loops and network effects similar to those seen in cities, organisms, all kinds of astronomical phenomena, and other complex systems.
Okay, the second question is Santostasi connect a concept from statistical physics to Bitcoin growth. Now, What 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 are the most significant parallels between natural systems, such as cities or biological organisms, and the Bitcoin network?
So, according to the book, the most significant parallel is that Bitcoin appears to exhibit power law scaling, which is a hallmark of many natural systems. And Giovanni explicitly compares Bitcoin to cities, biological organisms, and physical systems where growth is not linear and not simply exponential, but scale invariant. And this is really important. Like cities, Bitcoin seems to gain disproportionate value as the network grows. And like organisms, it has an energetic substrate. And like other self organizing systems, it appears to evolve through emergent order rather than central design.
Okay. Now, the third one is the aha moment comes from observing a log chart of Bitcoin's price.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, Why is this representation so important, and what does it reveal that other models failed to show?
Mhm. Great question. The log-log chart is crucial because it distinguishes a power law from an exponential. On a log-log plot, a power law appears as a straight line, while an exponential bends. And Giovanni's key claim is that Bitcoin's price becomes strikingly linear on a log-log chart over many years, which suggests that its long-term growth is governed by a power law rather than by exponential growth or random bubble behavior. And in his account, this was the moment that revealed Bitcoin had a deeper structural regularity that other representations were obscuring. And it is actually remarkable how perfectly straight Bitcoin's power law appears in a log-log chart. It is very rare to see such a perfect power law in nature or complex self-organizing systems.
Okay, what is the difference between linear, exponential, and power law growth? And why does Bitcoin's behavior appear to follow the latter?
Mhm. Great. So linear growth adds the same amount over time, and exponential growth adds at a constant percentage rate. So it accelerates continuously. Many viewers already know this, but this is crucial for newcomers who have been sold on the lie that Bitcoin is exponential. Power law growth, which is what Bitcoin follows, also grows without bounds, but its percentage rate decelerates over time while preserving scale invariance. It keeps growing, but not at a constant exponential pace. Instead, its log-log straightness suggests a power law, which is exactly what one expects from a self-organizing system with no preferred scale.
Okay, the concept of self-organized criticality describes a system of the age of chaos.
Mhm.
How can Bitcoin's volatility be interpreted as a sign of maturation rather than flow?
Mhm. In this framework, volatility is not merely noise or pathology. It is part of how a complex system reorganizes itself while maturing. And Giovanni's model suggests Bitcoin's long run path includes major oscillations around an underlying power law trend. And the important point is that the system repeatedly crashes, rebalances, and then recovers to higher structural levels. And that pattern looks less like terminal instability and more like a system moving through critical states while preserving deeper order.
The next one is the principle of preferential attachment suggests a rich get richer dynamic. How does this phenomenon manifest in the growth and adoption of the Bitcoin network?
Mhm. Now, I'm going to deviate a bit from the book and give you guys my opinion. I suppose it is true that the rich can get richer with Bitcoin, but it is the same for every asset class. Brave, smart, and sometimes rich people were really the first ones to see investment opportunities in Bitcoin. But what I really like about Bitcoin is that it has allowed everybody, regardless of their financial status, to drastically change their lives. For example, I scrambled together the little savings I had as a poor student and sold some video game money in early 2017 to buy some Bitcoin, which worked out really well for me. Bitcoin is really one of the few wealth redistribution opportunities that typically poor millennials and Zoomers have. Now, regarding the book, preferential attachment means new participants are more likely to join the network that is already largest, most secure, most liquid, and most visible. In Bitcoin, this can show up as adoption reinforcing itself. More users create more connections, more liquidity, more institutional legitimacy, more mining investment, and more cultural gravity. You can see this phenomenon yourself by observing what altcoins are popular each cycle. They start popular at first and then they die off like flies over time while Bitcoin remains. There are tons of charts illustrating this. In the book's framework, this helps explain why Bitcoin's adoption can follow a scale free trajectory rather than a standard bounded diffusion curve.
The next one is the book introduced the value triad,
Mhm.
the perfect ledger, physical infrastructure, and social network. How do those three elements interact, and why are they essential for supporting Bitcoin values?
The value triad is the core architecture of the theory. The ledger is the informational layer, so a trusted record of ownership. The physical infrastructure is the mining network and its energy expenditure, which secures that ledger in thermodynamic terms. The social network is the community of users, holders, developers, businesses, and institutions whose participation gives the system demand and value. Giovanni's argument is that Bitcoin's value emerges only because all three layers reinforce one another. Adoption supports price, price supports mining, mining secures the ledger, and a secure ledger sustains social trust.
Um, the next one is Metcalfe's law links the volume of the network to the number of its users. Now, how does this law help explain Bitcoin's price growth?
Mhm. So Metcalfe's law says the value of a network grows roughly with the square of its users because each added participant increases the number of possible connections. Santostasi applies this to Bitcoin by arguing that as adoption grows, value rises superlinearly rather than proportionally.
Okay.
In his telling, price growth is not arbitrary speculation layered on top of adoption. It is partly the economic expression of a deep network effect instead.
The next one is empirical data shows three main power laws: price, hash rate, and adoption. Now, how important is the consistency between those three indicators in strengthening the proposed theory?
Mhm. So it is central. Giovanni treats the mutual consistency of these three laws as one of the strongest pieces of evidence for the theory. Price, hash rate, and adoption are not supposed to be independent coincidences. They should fit together causally. And if adoption drives value through network effects and value drives mining incentives, then three layers should scale in mutually coherent ways. The fact that he claims they do is presented as a major reason the model is more than a one variable fit. And I also discussed this in my recent video summarizing Giovanni's and Stephen's new paper. So if you want to know exactly how the different power laws come together to create the price power law, make sure to check that out as well.
Okay. The next one is some critics argue this is just a curve fitting. What are the falsification criteria of the theory, and why does the model's stability over time support its validity?
Yeah, so Giovanni directly addresses that criticism by specifying conditions under which the theory would fail. These include a sustained flattening of adoption below trends, a statistically significant shift in the main exponents, or a lasting divergence among the three laws of price, hash rate, and adoption. In other words, the framework is not saying any outcome confirms the theory. Instead, it makes definite claims about what should continue to happen. And its strength, in his view, is that the fit has remained stable across multiple market cycles over many years, which is not what somebody would expect from a fragile retrospective curve fit. And all these conditions are also specified in a scientifically falsifiable way in the new paper.
The next one is Santostasi introduced the concept of conservation as the basis of monetary value. Now, how does this idea redefine the traditional concept of money?
The book's deeper claim is that durable money must embody forms of conservation: conservation of records, conservation of rules, and conservation against arbitrary dilution. Bitcoin's ledger preserves transaction history, its protocol preserves issuance rules, and its proof of work security makes falsification physically costly. And that shifts the concept of money away from what a trusted institution declares and toward what a system can reliably conserve. In this view, value is not merely imposed socially, it can emerge from a structure that conserves trust and integrity instead.
The model predicts continued but decelerating growth. Now, what implication does this have for Bitcoin's future and for long term investors?
Mhm. So the implication is that Bitcoin can keep appreciating while the percentage gains become less explosive over time. Giovanni emphasizes that deceleration is not a sign of breakdown, but of maturation, and early adopters captured extraordinary returns, but later participants may still see pretty substantial absolute gains as the network grows larger. For long term investors, this means expectations should shift away from endless early stage style acceleration and toward a more mature but still upward moving trajectory. On the flip side, this also means that investors don't have to suffer insane 85% crashes anymore either, which will hopefully be the final nail in the coffin for those asserting that Bitcoin cannot be a store of value due to its short term volatility.
Okay, the next one is if Bitcoin is a system that flows natural laws, what does this mean for traditional institution and the evolution of global monetary system?
So it suggests that monetary systems may not need to be designed entirely from the top down to achieve legitimacy and durability. If Bitcoin's value really emerges from network structure, energy expenditure, and decentralized coordination, then traditional institutions may have to reckon with the possibility that some forms of money and monetary order can arise spontaneously rather than bureaucratically. That would not make institutions irrelevant, but it would challenge their monopoly over defining and managing money. And we know that Bitcoin emerged as a response to the great financial crisis and all of the failures of the traditional banking system. And if you think about it, money should be democratic and naturally evolving in the same way many other things are in life.
Okay, now the book suggests Bitcoin's resilience comes from its complexity. How can we interpret market crisis in light of this perspective?
Right. From this perspective, crises are stress tests, not necessarily death sentences.
Okay.
Complex systems do not prove themselves by avoiding all shocks. They prove themselves by absorbing shocks without losing their organizing principles. Bitcoin's history of repeated crashes followed by recoveries is interpreted in the book as evidence that the underlying system remains intact, even when the surface layer becomes chaotic. And the key question is not whether crises occur, but whether the triad of ledger, energy, and social adoption remains coherent through them.
Okay, next questions and final question. Looking at the broader picture, can Bitcoin be considered an accidental discovery about how value emerges? And what final reflection can we draw for the future of technology and finance?
So Giovanni's broadest claim is yes, Bitcoin may be less an invention of digital money than a discovery of the conditions under which monetary value can emerge from first principles. In his telling, Bitcoin shows that value can arise from the interaction of a perfect ledger, an energy backed security layer, and a social network governed by scale effects without requiring prior institutional blessing. The larger implication is that technology and finance may be entering an era in which we do not merely digitize old institutions, but uncover the deeper laws by which trust, coordination, and value self organize. All right. Thank you, Claudia, for the great questions. I think that was the last one, right?
Yeah.
So, we've just briefly covered some of the core ideas of the book, but definitely make sure to order your own copy now because the book obviously goes way more in depth, and the link will be in the description. I think this will be a very important addition to the Bitcoin literature. Currently, we have great books like the Bitcoin Standard and lots of literature covering buzzwords like scarcity, but very few that have actually pieced together such a comprehensive scientific explanation for what Bitcoin actually is and why it is where it is today, and how so many aspects of its growth can also be predicted years into the future with a frightening degree of accuracy. Do you have anything to add, Claudia?
Personally, I found this space incredibly fascinating. The idea behind Bitcoin, especially when you start looking it for from a more scientific and systematic perspective, feel very innovative and honestly still quite new, especially from where I'm coming from.
Mhm. What's your background, by the way? Can you tell us?
What?
What's your background? Like, where are you
My
coming
back.
from? Hmm.
I'm from Italy, but the
Hmm.
country of Italy,
Hmm.
it isn't so. They don't know how Bitcoin. I don't know how to explain this world.
Hmm.
Okay, in America it's going well, but in Italia there is so much fake news, so much people that doesn't feel safe with
New inventions.
with new invention, with
Yeah.
coin, with this idea that I don't have money, but I have a value, a monetary value
Hmm.
that is Bitcoin, and I have this one in my wallet, and I don't know how to do the things. And right here, they don't know how to do anything with Bitcoin.
Exactly.
They don't
So
know.
it's good to see that things are getting better in that regard. I think there are some banks that are starting to adopt Bitcoin as well,
Yeah,
because there is a lot of passion. Also, there are certain
yeah.
people in Italy who are very interested
But
in Bitcoin.
we
Yeah.
don't know
Hmm.
how to study
Hmm.
that type of information because in Italy there are so much disinformation and so much fake news and so many sorry so many. I don't know how to explain fake traders
Yeah.
that sells you the type of make money in one
Hmm.
month. No,
Hmm.
uh, we don't have that type of security
Hmm.
in this world.
Hmm.
We need to be more. We need to have more information.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
it's great that Giovanni, the discoverer of the power law theory, is Italian. So that's pretty nice. That should balance things out a little bit.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Hmm.
that's it. I'm really curious to keep learning
Hmm.
and to better understand how all of these connects, uh, all of these connects in deeper level.
Hmm.
And
Great.
uh,
Hmm.
that's it because we don't have the good informations. We don't
Hmm.
have good information, and we can explore it well when we get to have it.
Hmm. Yeah, great. Let's hope we can have more of these podcasts in the future.
Absolutely.
Maybe we can discuss the markets and any new Bitcoin power law related news. But yeah, I think that was it for today. See you guys.